Breaking news. Welcome to today's headlines. Judicial corruption. How long should Nigerian judges and magistrates hide how they spend public money? How long should Nigerian judges and magistrates hide how they spend public money? To my dear listeners from wherever you're listening from, stay tuned as I read today's news. According to a recent report by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences (ICPC), the Nigerian judiciary tops the corruption index across the public sector with a 9.4 billion naira bribe from lawyers. This is the same court system that hides its financial books and expenditure from the people. Incredible. Some days ago, Prof. Sonny Adam, a lawyer and the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration at the University of Abuja, in a media report said, "I must admit that there is so much corruption in the judiciary, and all lawyers must work to revamp the judiciary because if the judiciary is doing what it is supposed to do, there will be timely dispensation of justice without delay. All the problems we are having today are because the judiciary has failed, and it has failed woefully. It is our collective responsibility to reform our laws to ensure that cases are dispensed immediately with all honesty and sincerity." Now we hear from the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, apparently overwhelmed by the dishonorable approach to public service and judicial practices, that he is publicly raising concerns about why the judiciary has not been transparent on how it is spending the funds allocated to it in its annual budget. Up till now, this issue has not been raised openly by any higher up in the government. As such, the AG deserves our thanks for saying an institution like the judiciary cannot continue to operate with impunity. The judges, magistrates, registers, and other court personnel are funded by the legislature, which appropriates funds for the judiciary to carry out its constitutional duties, execute administrative services, and engage in courthouse construction and maintenance. As such, doesn't the public have the right to know if the judiciary is spending public funds in an impartial, responsible, and cost-efficient way? In a democracy, it is essential that the Chief Justice and 2 or 3 of his deputies come physically before the Legislative Committee on Appropriation on annual basis to present the judiciary budget with details of their requests such as staffing, salaries, renovation, maintenance, buildings and grounds, research, education and development, equipment, technology, accommodation, and other items. They are expected to also comment on other issues relating to law schools, prison legal services, contracting scholarship, publications, and entertainment, insurance, travel, security, and electronic documentation, as well as the budget impact of workload and caseload. For generations, the judiciary, meaning the chief judge or his or her deputies, has for the most part not directly appeared before the legislature to give testimony on the detailed usage of the funds they request annually, yet they keep requesting as if the people are stupid and therefore should not ask questions because the spenders are lords, judges, and magistrates. Well, see this link for reality education. No matter how troubled our democracy is, the judiciary must always ensure high ethical standards and transparency when it comes to judicial budget. Henceforth, this present government and successive ones should, by way of executive order or law, make the judiciary account for all the money appropriated to them and various fees paid to the court. The Nigerian judiciary must begin to move away from prehistoric times by taking advantage of new technologies. It must take a futurist view, which includes maintaining court records electronically, enabling electronic filing of pleadings and orders, and constructing high-tech courtrooms for evidence presentation to save time and money. The court should learn to electronically zoom in and out. Court lawyers should learn to use tablets to present evidence in the courtroom so the judges can see an exhibit on a TV monitor. We cannot continue with the old way of doing business because of personal convenience and a refusal to engage in new learning. To maintain the public's trust in the judiciary and as part of updated judicial practices and mechanisms, there is a need for strong counsel to the laissez-faire attitude of the National Judicial Council (NJC). Yes, we need to spend money on the judiciary, but it must commit to spending public funds in a responsible and cost-efficient way. Court audits by the Office of Auditor General and legislative oversight mechanisms always work together to hold judges and judicial staff responsible for their financial conduct as government officials and for efficient management of public funds. These notations should equally apply to others like the military, customs service, immigration service, the Nigerian Police Force, DSS, prisons, the National Intelligence Agency,